Hello everybody, my name is Sniping is Fun, and I welcome you back to this next The 5 list, the third of 3 Super Smash Bros. 5 on Nintendo Switch character lists. The first one was about new Nintendo characters, the 5 new Nintendo characters that are very likely for Super Smash Bros. 5. Second one was the 5 new third-party characters that are very likely for Super Smash Bros. 5. And this one is the 5 retro characters that at least would be interesting and likely for Super Smash Bros. 5. You see this big distinct difference there because with the Nintendo franchises and like the third parties, you can go off of relevancy, recency, what games are being utilized the last couple of years leading up to and during the development of a Super Smash Bros. Game, or for the foreseeable future leading up to after it, depending on if the character is advertised heavily for a game that comes out in the future, Roy, or a game that's going to come out as DLC after the roster releases and whatnot. But with retro characters, it's very weird because like Mr. Game & Watch, Rob, Pit originally, the Duck Hunt Dog are all just retro characters for the sake they're very old characters that haven't been around in a long, long time. Most of these characters since the NES days. Pretty much, actually, every single character that was originally a retro character, Pit is now technically just Kid Icarus with Dark Pit and Palutena and whatnot, because Uprising came out, so he's not a retro character anymore. He's a classic old school character, but he just represents his own franchise. But Mr. Game & Watch, Rob, the Ice Climbers, Duck Hunt Dog are all retro characters because they're franchises, they're games that were a long, long time ago. So that's where I differentiate that. But the reason they don't have relevancy, they don't have recency, they don't have something that's really utilizing them unless they're in cameos or assist trophy, stickers, music, something in a Smash Bros. Game, something in another Nintendo oriented game. So they don't really have that recency, that relevancy for me to grasp onto and be like, okay, these characters got a game recently. These characters are recent. These characters are relevant. These characters are closely tied to Nintendo. Stuff like that. I can't do that with them like I did the Nintendo characters or the third-party characters, even though these are Nintendo characters. What I mean by is new Nintendo characters that are still being utilized and still in new games and stuff like that. And retro characters, like I said, that are characters that haven't had games in a long time. So I can't go off, okay, the 5 retro Nintendo characters, the 5 retro characters that are very likely to be in, because it's a crapshoot. Predicting retro characters in a Smash Bros. Game is a crapshoot. It is not a guarantee. There is no likely choices. No one is relevant. No one is recent. So you can't really go off of stuff like that for retro characters. But you can go off of which ones you think might at least be interesting to see. So this one, unlike the Nintendo-oriented one, where I predicted characters, Nintendo characters that are based off recent games and their likelihood and relevant, and third-party characters that are closely tied to Nintendo and relevant and recent and whatnot. This is just 5 retro characters, the 5 retro characters I think would be cool to see in Super Smash Bros. 5. So let's get started with the first one, the one that everyone thought we would see in, Smash Bros. 4, and he was very close to being in. Just start off with the most basic choice everyone's really requesting. Takamaru from Murasame Castle. He was supposed to be in, according to Sakurai, he was supposed to originally be in Smash Bros. 4. He was one of the retro characters that he was going to be included probably alongside Duck Hunt Dog, but he probably thought people didn't really know him or something like that. But it's a Japanese exclusive retro character. I think they might have actually included it on the Wii U Virtual Console, I think, as an import or something now at this point. But at the time, I don't think it was. And this is an old NES game. It's like Legend of Zelda, but set like in feudal Japan. You play as a samurai, throwing stars and doing magic and using a samurai sword, blah, blah, blah. Classic game. He's had appearances elsewhere. He's been one of the retro characters that's gotten a lot of cameos. Samurai Warriors 3, Nintendo Land, Captain Rainbow, and stuff like that. He is at least utilized, and he had an assist trophy in Smash Bros. 4. So I think if there's a retro character that at least is likely because he was intended for Smash Bros. And he has a lot of cameos, it might be him. But like I said, it's a crapshoot. You can't guarantee a retro character. You can almost guarantee and practically highly predict the newer Nintendo characters, the Nintendo characters that are still utilized on the rest of the Nintendo roster, or the third-party characters. But retro characters are kind of hard to predict. So it's not like he's very likely, but he would be cool to see because it's to be a samurai moveset, another sword user with interesting sword fighting skills. He was intended for the game. He's popular, heavily requested. He'd be cool to see. And it's from a Japanese exclusive, and we haven't got a retro character that's Japanese exclusive yet, so maybe it's him, even though he's not Japanese exclusive anymore because it's a Virtual Console game now. The second one goes to another character that got an assist trophy in Smash Bros. 4 that I think would be kind of cool because it represents a Game Boy game. And we haven't got a retro character that represents a Game Boy game yet. It's a Japanese exclusive Game Boy game too, as far as I recall. I don't think it's ever came out here. And that goes to Prince Sable from For the Frog, the Battletoads, or From the Frog, the Battletoads, whatever the heck it's called. It's like an RPG game on the original Game Boy. He was an assist trophy. He's that assist trophy, that sword boy that comes out and turns into a frog or whatever, a snake or something, whatever. You know, it'd be kind of cool. Another classic RPG from Nintendo. To see this character in, he can do transformations into frogs or snakes or whatever the heck he does, and swords and magic and stuff like that. It'd be a classic JRPG, classic Nintendo RPG character. And Nintendo has RPG characters like new ones like Pokemon, Fire Emblem, Xenoblade, all the game, and now they have Cloud and whatnot too. So, you know, how about concluding a classic Nintendo RPG like him? Like, he'd be a cool, interesting character to see. It's not very likely, and just like Takamaru, he's Japanese exclusive, even though technically Takamaru is not Japanese exclusive anymore, technically, and he still is. But it'd be kind of cool to see him. He got an assist trophy in Smash Bros. 4, and I'm not saying that's a reasoning because people predict reasons. Oh, this character was in a Super Smash Bros. Trophy, assist trophy, and he's likely now, and they can make the transfer of the character. No, I don't believe in that. That's stupid. But I'm thinking just he'd be a cool character now to finally add, just maybe as a retro character to represent the Game Boy, represent a classic RPG, an interesting, cool moveset, and a Japanese exclusive character, which we don't hardly get that much of, really. So, Prince Sable. Okay. Third one goes to a classic NES character, which this is now a straight up just American game. It's American exclusive. I don't think this game ever came out in Europe, and I know for a fact it never came out in Japan. And that goes to Mike Jones from the Star Tropics franchise. Just look at those eyes. Look at those bananas in his ear. It's Mike Jones. But yeah, Mike Jones' Star Tropics games were on the NES, like near the very end of the NES, like when the Super Nintendo was out, like a kind of like a action-ish adventure type top-down game, kind of like The Legend of Zelda almost. Puzzles and like it's very Western and like represent. Like, it kind of like does like representation of like American type stuff, Western type world stuff. It's an interesting game. I partially played the original, never got to the second one, but I partially have played the original. It is a fun game series, and this is a character that I would think would be interesting because we never really have seen like a Western exclusive character, and like I just basically had 2 Japanese exclusives. And it'd be kind of cool to see something like this because he has like yo-yo, he has a bat, he, you know, it makes it sound like Ness, but he doesn't have like psychic powers and whatnot. So he has a bat, he uses the yo-yo, you can do something with the bananas. He just has a lot of like, little stuff like random weaponry that like a kid would use, and it would be kind of cool to see him in there as a retro character. I know it's kind of playing it safe by picking another NES character. And every single one of our characters have been almost related to the NES in terms of retro characters, and I really think they should jump out and do some, you know, handheld classic characters, arcade classic characters, and whatnot. But you know, Mike Jones would be a cool character, and I really would kind of like to see him just kind of give us something different in terms of a Western exclusive retro character. The fourth one goes to another NES character, but I do think this franchise, just like how Takamaru was still kind of relevant because of all his cameos, this series is at least relevant in terms of they still utilize it, but it has spin-offs and whatnot, but it's like he still is technically a retro character because they don't really utilize the character so much as the franchise, and the franchise hasn't been seen since the Wii anyways with the WiiWare game. But how about we have the Excitebiker from Excitebike? You know, it's not really a retro franchise because we got an Excitebike 64, there was Excite Truck, Excite Bots, the WiiWare Excitebike World Rally game. So, but it's like, but the character itself is the retro choice because you didn't really have an Excitebiker faceless character. You had real life motocross people in 64, and you had vehicles and bug machines and whatnot in there. So it kind of was still there with the World Rally, but that was like a spin-off side, like sprint time run type game. It wasn't, and even though it technically is what it originally was too, but they only barely utilized it. It was a WiiWare game. It wasn't a full-fledged return. It was a little side game on WiiWare at the time and whatnot, and it still was a fun game. I played it, but it's like Excitebiker. It'd be cool to see a character that can't stop. The difficulty of a character riding the motorcycle, you can knock them off. They're weaker off the motorcycle. Maybe they can still fight, but they're slow. Their attacks are weak. But if you get on the vehicle, you can do little hops to jump around, attack people, run people over your motorcycle and stuff like that. Maybe pull obstacles out of the ground and just jump on people and jump over people and whatnot. It'd be kind of cool to see what they can do with a character that is on their vehicle 24/7, 100%. And it'd be really interesting to see a character that doesn't walk in their fighting stance. And the fifth one, and the character I really want to see out of all these characters, the one I would like to see the most, because I grew up with this character playing this character on the Game Boy, is another character from the Game Boy, which I really, like I said, I want to see them kind of differentiate the retro characters. Practically every single retro character has come from the Nintendo Entertainment System, from the NES, the original Famicom, whatever the heck you want to call it. Wherever you live in the world, every character they've picked so far has practically represented that. The Duck Hunt Dog did. Pit did until they changed him from retro to just being a new character with Uprising. Mr. Game & Watch. Rob was an accessory for it, had games too. And the Ice Climbers. We've had no retro characters for the arcade, no retro characters for the handhelds, and I would love to see them differentiate. Please stop, right? Do something like that. But the character I picked because I loved playing his game, even though I never beat it because I kind of sucked at it as a kid, but it was a fun game to play on the original Game Boy. Could we please have Muddy Mole in the game? Muddy Mole would be like the retro character I really would like to see from the game Muddy Mole. From the game Muddy Mole. Wow, I'm tired. It's like 2 o'clock in the morning. The character's name is Muddy Mole. The game is Mole Mania. And it's kind of like a Legend of Zelda type game, top down and stuff like that. You play as a mole, crawl into the ground, go do underground stuff, a little platforming, like action-ish adventure type stuff. It's a really fun character, and he's like, so we don't have a mole in the game. It's a different character type. His moveset would be differentiated, and it's an interesting choice. And this is more so a personal choice, and it's like, it was a popular game on the original Game Boy, and I'm surprised they never utilized the character anymore after the game. So, Muddy Mole for Smash Brothers. So those are my 5 retro characters. I think would be kind of interesting choices, not like highly likely, not like the Nintendo and third-party list, but still characters I think would be kind of cool to include and differentiate, especially in terms of where they're coming from. But the 5 are Takamaru, Muddy Mole, the Excitebiker, Mike Jones, and Prince Sable. Now, if I had to give percentages here, and the percentages are really off the wall on this one because all my percentages for the third-party characters and for the Nintendo characters were like, the lowest was like 75% and the highest was 100. 100, like 95, 100 with like the Fire Emblem 16 character, or Rex and Pyra, but like 75 was like Travis Touchdown and whatnot. Like very like a distinct high percentage, like in the top, like in terms of 100%, the top like 30% up there pretty much where I put the Nintendo and third party characters. If I had to pick these characters, Muddy Mole, 20%, 30%. Prince Sable is like 5, maybe 10. Excitebiker, 40. Takamaru about 40, 45. And who was my other choice? Mike Jones, 30%. I don't know. But those are my choices. What do you guys think? Do you guys think these will be interesting choices for a third party? For a third party. Like I said, it's tired 2 o'clock in the morning. It is retro characters. Do you think these characters would be cool retro characters to see in Super Smash Bros. 5 on the Nintendo Switch? Would you like to see them? And what retro characters do you want to see? And do you want to see them differentiate where the retro characters come from? Like make American exclusive retro characters like a Mike Jones, or do like a Game Boy or arcade retro character? Because everything's practically been NES, and I think we would all want to differentiate this up a little bit, please, Sakurai. My name is Sniper Fun. Peace. Please subscribe if you want to. Have a lovely day, and see you all later when more Smash Bros. 5 videos come, because I intend to very soon do what I did with the DLC, the character ballot in Smash Bros. 4, and do individual prediction videos of characters I think could be in the game, retro characters, Nintendo retro, third parties, and predicting moveset ideas and likelihood of them, percentage chances, and why I want to see them in, and why they have a chance to be in them, blah, blah, blah. That is all coming. And I might be able to make this thing, be more than 80 characters. So, see you all then. Bye.